yeah, no, yeah. So before I went to London, I was a bit of a mess, but working on it. I was
Yeah.
also really, so I had gone to a few semesters of acting school in New York and loved it and hated it. I was just like, I was 18, 19, and just in a dark place, just unhappy with who I was and quite frightened all the time, especially in social scenarios, because I just really, 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 fuck, I just made this assumption before I spoke with anyone that they thought I was disgusting, that their opinion of me matched my own.
Yeah. I can empathize with that. Yeah.
I know you can.
At
I
that
know,
age, man, especially.
scary stuff. Just a lot of a lot of suicidal thoughts and just kind of wishing the bus would fucking hit me that was coming down the road. But something in me always staying on that side of the street anyways. And that thing I would get glimpses of, that thing that wanted me to stay alive. And that thing had me drop out of school in New York and go back home and heal,
Mhm.
uh, and re-audition for drama schools, in a proper way. My brother had actually, as you know, um, got sent to prison
Mhm.
for selling acid, essentially, for way too long. For his sentence was 20 years, and this happened, in the later half of my high school.
Jesus, for
Uh,
selling acid, 20 years.
yeah, obviously it's a little more complicated than
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like
but
the drug laws in the U.S. and
yeah.
and how it matched his crime and his previous offenses. He's him and I are very similar, in the sense that we struggle with our minds.
Hmm.
Um, and for him, he's a lot smarter than me, and he's a lot everything that I am. He's tenfold, and he's kind of too smart for his own good in a way, especially in his youth, and it just pushed him to try and escape his boredom.
Yeah.
Sold drugs, man. He sold drugs.
Mm, yeah. No,
And
many good people who have, and it's kind of
oh
luck of the
yeah,
draw whether you get
yeah.
fucked for it or you don't get fucked for it.
He got fucked. He got
Mm,
fucked, and he really thought he wouldn't. He thought he was above the law, but
mm,
it'll bite you eventually. So that happened, and that kind of, yeah, that was part of just my agony, because he's my best friend, and
mm,
um, 20 years is a long fucking time. And yeah, so as I left Pace and wanted to heal and did, to a certain degree. I went vegan. I got on the right medication. I'm not vegan anymore. I'm not on that medication anymore, but whatever, like, neither here nor there. It helped me at the
yeah.
time. It's
Right
what I
place,
need.
right time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Exactly. And I kind of was coming out of my shell, gaining this confidence. I also went off birth control in my mind. I felt like it was kind of my own again.
Mm,
I tried some psychedelics. I had these glimpses of who I was. I still was covering it up with so many different things. My anxiety just kept getting in the way. I still couldn't look people in the eye quite properly, and hold my own quite well. But I had those glimpses, and that was all I needed to really understand that there was a me, there was a version of me, there was a true, yeah,
yeah.
a true me
Hmm.
that was eventually going to live through me all the time, and
Yeah.
not just being glimpses. So those glimpses were enough for me not to shoot myself in the head. Sorry to just speak in these terms. I'm quite
No, no,
but
you're in good company. Do not worry. Do not
exactly.
worry. I appreciate it. I appreciate
I
honesty.
of
Mm,
course.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, those glimpses were enough for a while. But then I kind of got hooked on the drugs that were helping me,
Hmm.
pharmaceutical speed, essentially, for my ADHD and my anxieties. Um, and I was drinking at the time, and I just didn't have the wherewithal to understand. Well, first of all, that I'm someone that needs taken care of, and quite tenderly, instead of
Hmm.
with kind of like hammer methods.
Yeah.
Uh, that kind of bring me to a like fervent state in a
Mm,
way. And long story short, I mixed alcohol with with an amphetamine and got in a car and flipped my car God knows how many
God, I
times.
remember that. That
You
wasn't
remember
that.
this? I came in a sling.
Yeah, yeah. This was not long before I first met you, was it? Yeah, I totally remember
Not
that.
long at all.
No.
It was, God, I
Fuck.
don't know, a couple weeks before I went to London, I got in this accident.
That's a
Thank God
crazy
didn't
start
go.
to like the biggest move of your young life at that
Yeah,
time, man.
correct.
Mm,
Correct. There's so many details I could go into, but I want to
mm.
get more to the point.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was, the spiritual awakening or whatever.
Mm,
But it just, it's important to explain the place I was in and part of like why the awakening was even I was even allowed to happen because I was in this place. But I had to do this move. I cut cold turkey from my medication. I Because I almost fucking killed myself. I woke up to medics being like, she's alive, upside
yeah.
down, glass everywhere from every window being shattered. Like, I should have been dead. I should have killed someone. Like, but I didn't. And I had to be like, oh, fuck. Okay. Get your shit together. You don't need all this. You don't need these things. I did still need them, but I just didn't know how to use them properly, responsibly. But I cut cold turkey. I moved to London. All my anxieties came back,
Mhm.
all of them, all that hatred for myself, all that fear. And it felt like, Dan, it felt like there was an invisible hand, but it didn't feel fucking invisible around my throat. Like, I'm not like, I don't understand the language of chakras, but it sort of felt like my throat chakra was completely cut off, whichever one it helps you
Mm.
express yourself. It was like I would have an idea of what I wanted to say to someone or like what I wanted to convey in a basic sentence. And it was like it would go through this machine that was broken. And I could not get the words out. Or like what I would say would be zero representation of what I
Yeah.
was thinking. So jumbled. This machine, this mechanism was corrupted.
It's like your
Um,
true voice, as you were saying, like the true you that
yeah.
you saw underneath there was not able to come out, and I totally
Yeah, it's being
feel that.
stifled.
And when I got to drama school, it was a similar thing of just my social anxiety just went through the roof, and the
Yeah.
way I dealt with it was just to basically isolate. I couldn't deal with it, and
Yes.
it was
Yes. I
many
think
years later
so.
that I had any kind of spiritual awakening or anything. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I was just sort of in agony. I mean, because I really wanted to step up to the plate and get the most out of this experience. And I felt myself getting in my own way, and it just really brought me a lot of sorrow. And the classes itself were, oh my God. I mean, they were really vital and important for me to express myself with my body in particular. Like
Hmm.
the voice classes and stuff were quite difficult because of what I explained to you. Like it was even hard for me to memorize stuff and step into my voice. Movement was really, really huge for me. And that first semester when I was in that place, um, it was like it was like I had a language finally. And that was a huge kind of like spark in this movement that was happening in me. But yeah, so I was kind of just in this like this tension
Hmm.
state. So I tried to get amphetamines again, went through all like the weird to me weird foreign health
Yeah.
system, just different,
It's
I got
harder to get here as well, I think.
yeah, it is.
That's a big
I
one.
got basically had to get retested for ADD and all this stuff
Mm.
with a private doctor and XYZ. And I did, and it didn't work in the same way. It had the opposite effect. I went full, like my anxiety went even worse with
Mm.
Ritalin I used. Very like Judy Garland of me. But it had the opposite effect, which was really fucking interesting.
Mm.
And for some reason that alone kind of made me go, huh, like, okay, something's changing in me. Like, my body doesn't really want this anymore. And I also felt that sense of desperation that they kind of always say you need to hit before you make a
Yeah.
fucking change.
Hmm.
I was like, whoa, I don't have like the external help that I had before. These tools aren't at my disposal anymore, like to lean on.
Yeah.
Uh, they just simply don't work. And so that alone, it was like, that alone was a little awakening
Mm.
where I was like, I have to help myself. I actually have no other choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that's just what I did. I remembered some Eckhart Tolle, however you say his name. I remember that it resonated me with in the past, and so I cracked open a book, started reading, and it hit in a way that was fresh, as though I like was reading words for the first time.
Yeah.
Like a beginner's mind is
Mm.
often said in
Yep.
this world. And yeah, that just started this path for me. And then next was Alan Watts.
Hmm.
Um, and I was able to kind of embark on in the present moment in a way that I didn't really know was available to me. And luckily, drama school, all it does is want you to live in the goddamn present moment. So it was
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, drama school was this, and I explained this to a lot of my teachers, our teachers, um, in our little one-on-ones, which was like my life is like a two-lane highway right now that's supporting one another, and one of the highways is me and my mind and everything I'm exploring about how precious life is and the present is, and then drama school running along next to it, which is all about getting in your body and yeah, finding your true authentic voice, which I had never, well, not never, I hadn't experienced since I was a child, really.
Mm.
and and those two things really supported each other and held each other up, and that was why it propelled me into kind of my eyes blasting open.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about those two philosophers and authors, Eckhart Tolle and Alan Watts, because they're both coming from, if you feel like that true, you have glimpses of that true self, but you can't quite get to it. It's covered up with so many things. Well, their whole teaching, really, an essence of most Buddhist and Zen teaching anyway, is that all those fears and those emotions and those things on top of that you feel like are
Yeah,
stifling you, they're not really you. You are the space that those things are appearing in, but
yeah,
underneath there is a constant stream that is you, that is just the witness of those
yeah.
things.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was really the kernel for me.
Mm.
It's like, because it's not like the anxiety went away overnight and all this self-doubt went away overnight, but it was like all of a sudden this thing that I could look at and that I didn't take as myself.
Yes, yes, like
I had
anxiety
always,
is there rather than I
yeah,
am anxiety.
I am the
Yeah,
anxiety.
yeah, yeah.
And I remember it was actually it was like one of the initial thoughts that kind of dislodged a lot of this for me, was exactly that. It was like I realized I had been telling myself for so long, maybe I didn't use the words I am anxiety, but even I have anxiety, like just like I became so entrenched with like this as just something I had and
Mm.
yeah, therefore I just was so identified with it. I was
Yeah.
so honestly addicted to it in a way. Um
I th-
Leaning on that label as something
I
that
think
made
we
me
all are
feel.
to some extent in some way, because it's the way we're conditioned, this sort of subject object relationship that we get told. I mean, I don't know what a baby thinks, but I doubt a baby is, a baby staring up at its toes isn't going, "Oh, there's my toes." It's just going, it's just experiencing it.
It's experiencing
And
it.
then you
Exactly.
get to, 1 year old, 2 year old, and it's like you get taught that you are this thing and everything outside of you is
Well, yeah.
something
So can
different.
you can imagine why all of a sudden, like to me, I use the word awakening, like the world opened up. All of a
Mm,
sudden, word tree wasn't the tree. I was experiencing the fucking tree. And like really for the first time since I was probably that infant,
mm,
like it was as though everything was sparkling. And, I fell in love for the first time
mm.
because with Leon, I mean, with the world. I fell in love with the world really, but also Leon and I fell in love,
Mm.
a real human being, um, because I was finally ready to not only love but be loved, like to just witness love and
Mm.
to not have all of these expectations and these labels that I had put on the meaning of what a relationship should look like.
Mm.
And that was a beautiful thing too, because I could, like, my relationship became this arena for me to practice all of this insight and this
Mm.
simplicity in my way of living. So drama school, my boyfriend, my then boyfriend, it all became these things, these playgrounds for
Yeah.
me to really mm, to really investigate my mind through, and to have this new lightness through, and my humor really came out, and my kindness and my compassion, um and all these things are still with me. I definitely have my moments, my dark moments. They're
Of course.
all fucking all the time, but like, I've stepped into a woman, I've stepped
Mm.
into a homo sapien that wants to live,
It's
you
so
know
interesting as well. You use the word a chance to like play and all those things because again, Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts, and so glad you mentioned him. His whole
that's
thing
it.
is that life is a dance and a play. It's like a play going out. It's not something happening to you. It's
Exactly. I mean, he was a filthy alcoholic. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. He
Like,
was a very
that,
interesting, set of
I think
contradictions,
we
but
put so much pressure on these people to be saints, otherwise
mm,
we won't listen to their words. It's like, yes, live your truth, absolutely. And I want to see that the people that I'm listening to are living their words, but at the same time, his emphasis was on I'm a human being and we all
completely.
are, and to accept it, not keel over acceptance, but like allowance of the soup being a little salty, like, because what's fucking interesting about some, well, I mean, monks are very interesting, but like
Yeah.
choosing the life of just like sitting in a cave and closing your eyes, like that's no fun, in my opinion.
Mhm.
That's no fun.
Yeah, it's I want to say, and I know we've spoken about it before, but
What's up?
since leaving drama school and sort of we've got to know each other better, although we've seen each other less, weirdly.
I know,
Um,
isn't that funny?
yeah,
Love
but
that.
I'm I'm really sad, and I was very ashamed of it for a long time. I've forgiven myself for it, and your forgiveness also helped with that. So thank you. But we kind of met at times in our lives where I'm so sad you met me at that time because the way the stuff you were going through and the stuff I was going through, I was on a collision course with anyone in my path, and I basically, I was self-medicating and all that stuff, and it just meant that I
Hmm.
I couldn't be my full self when we first knew each other, and I'm so glad that I've had a second chance to do that. And it was really lovely actually when I came to Brooklyn last time, and I hadn't seen you in years, and you turned the corner and were like, "Oh hey man!" It was like we'd not it was like we saw each other yesterday and gave me a big hug.
Because I believe that everything happens at the perfect time. I
Mm.
just do.
Mm.
And it's like, because of the place I was in, I didn't see you just in that mode. I saw us turning around the corner and saying, "Oh, hey, man," years
Mm.
from then. Like, not like I'm some like oracle,
Clairvoyant.
but yeah, no, yeah, exactly. But like,
Mm.
I've, I just have always felt your essence as a human being, and
Thank you.
that's never wavered.
Mm.
Um,
Thank you, because I don't
oh,
think
when we see one.
I didn't think I saw it for a long time. So it's very, I'm glad you did. But you know, just thank you because I can't have been easy living with a proper addict at the time,
Hey,
really.
you're so fucking welcome. And like, I have so many people to thank for the exact same thing. Like, you know what I mean? All I have is compassion for that Dan, and I hope you do too. Like,
Yeah, it's taken many, many years. But now I think of him and I just want to give him a hug and kind of be like,
yeah,
gonna be all right,
Yeah.
and you're worth fighting for. I think that's the
And
thing.
look at you now. Like you, oh God, I love doing that. I love sitting right now and almost looking at myself now with my past eyes,
Mm,
just being like, you know what I mean? Like plant, like using your imagination to plant yourself into the feet of the person that you were. And through those eyes, look at you now. And it brings a tear to my eye, seriously, whenever I do that, because I'm just like, I did it.
yeah.
Doing it, but like I would have been so fucking gassed to see myself
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
only 5 years ago, even, like
I
even
mean,
at drama school when I was like, I was still
I
figuring shit
mean,
out.
when we've both experienced things and come from places that you've described of like you didn't want to live sometimes, and there were
Yeah,
moments
yeah.
where it's amazing that we did. I mean,
A miracle. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be here, and it's great to have a second chance with you because you're you're s- there's a palpable sense of kindness with you that I get, and it
That is
kind of
very cool.
radiates. And there's so many people that in my addiction and my drinking, through my own because of my own pain and not being able to deal with it, I ruined friendships, or there's stuff that I did to people that I can't take back, and that
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
will never get reconciliation with that person. But I'm so glad I have with you, and it's a real gift. So.
You have many times over, and it's honestly a relief when someone in your life is being human as fuck, because if I was around people all the time that were some version of perfect or tried to be, then I would feel stifled in speaking some honest truth,
Mhm.
I mean, those are the artists that I'm drawn to, just people who are talking
Totally.
about everyday shit, mundane shit, and also the deepest, darkest shit,
Hmm.
because that makes me feel like I can fucking breathe and let my belly out,
Mm.
you know?
I think that's what great art does for me is I kind of feel heard. It's like, oh, I'm not the only one feeling this.
Oh yeah, it's a mirror.
I'm not so broken. I'm not this.
Yeah, and you
Um,
you then when you allow yourself to feel all your emotions and to experience, let's say, the heaviness of loss, um, you then are able to connect with all of the people in the world who have felt loss, which is everyone. Like
yeah, to some
you
extent,
get a
yeah.
little closer to humanity when you allow yourself these phases too. Sometimes you're in a phase of
Hmm.
loss or ambiguous loss. You don't have
I
to
mean,
lose someone to be in grief. You just have to lose
yeah. I mean, I
yourself.
truly feel like for most, I'm 29 now, and I'm still grieving in a way. I feel like the whole of my 20s, it was the reason that I started using drugs, and we'd met about a
Mhm.
year, well, less than a year after my entire life had fallen apart at the seams, and I had no fucking way of dealing with that, so I just numbed it. And
Mhm.
now it's like, a good 5 year period of sort of grieving for the life I
Ah,
had
yeah.
and thought, and I'm so in some ways I'm so glad it happened because I am starting to love the person I am now. But you still got to grieve for that
Yeah. Well,
life
in
that
life
wasn't
and
meant to
love,
be.
I completely agree. I completely agree. But the reason why you're grieving that stuff is because you're loving yourself now. I just think love, love is loss. Allowing yourself to love anything, life itself even, means you're gonna feel loss.
Yeah, it's the most vulnerable thing you can do, but it's the most
It
one of
is.
the most beautiful, well, probably the most
It is.
beautiful, I
That
guess.
act of letting go. I mean, that's where the special sauce
Yeah.
is.
That's some special sauce.
Yes, and we all have our different ingredients and our different
We
different
do.
sauce,
Different little flavors, but
and that's
all
making art, finding what your sauce is, your flavors,
totally, totally.
your flavors.
So you come out of Lambda, you've in such a short period of time because you were only there for 2 years rather than three, right? Am I right in that?
Yeah, two
Yeah,
very
yeah.
condensed
Two very, yeah,
manic
yeah,
years. Yeah.
manic years. But to have come so far, and even in my, state that I was in, witnessing how far you'd come, you come out of Lambda and you go back to the US and you start your career. And I'm interested in
Some semblance of it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're all we're all on the journey. Um,
Yeah.
I'm interested in what that transition back into the US industry was like, and what you feel from your unique experience of training in the UK and working in the US, what the differences are in approaches and how the industries differ slightly, or
Oh my
do
God.
they? Maybe they don't.
I mean, I don't know the English industry because I left almost right away. Because that's when my visa expired, and I did have an agent from London for a short amount of time. They quickly dropped me because I couldn't work
Didn't
there.
have the right to work. Yeah.
Not legal. Yeah, they'd put me up for some American stuff, whatever. Boring. Um, but yeah, I mean that's a really good question. But so I got kind of thrown into it. I was super lucky, lightning struck, and not too long after graduation, I was cast as a series regular in something. So I was able to exercise my new tools.
New acting chops.
Really, for me, I guess like the question lies, I would say, for me in translating what I learned from drama school to actually working on set. Not
Yeah.
only because theater was my main bag, my spine, and my blood, and then training in that and having to then be on a set where everything happens in a completely different way. So that was really for me the biggest transition. It wasn't necessarily like industry to industry. I was learning all about the industry in one go, and that was really on set. I did a sci-fi for the CW for almost a year in Vancouver, and that was eye-opening in so many ways.
Mm.
I learned the mechanics of how to make a television show. I mean, just by observing, all the different moving parts that go into it, and also just what it means to be an actor on a set, and the self-discipline that it takes, the lack of rehearsals that you have, so or adjusting to that. Um, but yeah, I was super fucking lucky that I had such a long stretch of time because being a guest star on something is so fraction. Like you right when you're starting to get it on day 10, all
Th- then you're
the in
going home the next day.
you go home the next
Yeah.
day. Yeah, exactly. But I had tens on tens and tens on tens of days. I did 14 episodes, I think. I was contracted for 7 and they just kept me around for some reason. And I got to finish off the series finale with those folks. But yeah, I learned to find my light, and I learned how to learn your fucking lines when they rewrite it every 2 seconds the day
Yeah.
of, and how to throw things out and improvise, and how to
That's
get along with everyone. How to be
yeah. Don't be
a
a
good
dick is
person.
a
I
good
don't
one.
know, be
Yeah.
a dick because I saw some dicks. Like
Yeah, I'll bet.
most people were fucking angels. I mean, it was just beautiful. But yeah, no, there's one sour apple can really fuck up a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, completely. And it's annoyingly in our industry, if you get to a certain level, you can kind of get away with it because they'll put up with bad behavior because you're selling a show. So
Yeah.
you're part of the marketing for that show. So they will kind of
Yeah,
like, well,
exactly.
this is just the price we pay. They be a dick to people, and it's not okay. But
No, it's not. It's
people's
not.
insecurities at the end of the day, isn't it? You have to kind of try, and it's really hard in the moment, but to have compassion and be like, who hurt you? Like,
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's also like the pressures of the entertainment industry in and of itself is just a really hard thing for most minds.
Yeah.
Like it's a very unnatural thing to be thrown in any kind of spotlight and to have to deal with it, especially when you're in your youth. It's just it's awkward and it's mean, and
Mm.
a lot of minds cave into that. And I mean, mental health is such a fragile fucking thing, and we live in a time when everything is so fast. um and so the entertainment world, like it's almost asking to breed people like that. And I'm
Yeah.
talking like I can kind of separate the entertainment world from real art, because the entertainment world is all about speed
It's an
and
industry.
money.
It's a machine. Yeah, yeah.
Machine,
Completely.
and that machine doesn't really it's not a place to be human in. I mean, obviously you want to bring the human into it in order for like even some piffy entertainment to be fun and interesting. But it's not for the faint of heart.
I think it's interesting that you were coming out of drama school at a time where you just had this, whatever you want to call it, awakening realization. You were kind
Slap
of
in the face.
yeah, big universal slap in the face.
Come on, girl, wake the fuck up, please. About time.
Because I think that's a great place to go out into the industry. Because I've spoken to a lot of people
Yeah,
who
yeah,
came out of drama school, got that big first job, and they kind of were often the stories are that they were disappointed by it because they thought, oh well, this is going to fix me. This is going to be,
yeah. That
you
makes
know,
sense.
that's
Yeah,
how you kind of you hear, oh, I've got the big TV show, I've got the thing that we're told at drama school you should
yeah.
have, and I'm still actually I'm creatively unfulfilled, or I'm this, or I'm it's
Oh,
not
the
quite what
world
I
finds
thought.
many ways to humble me. I mean, got this big show, and my momentum was on point and ready to maybe take me somewhere, and then the pandemic hit. I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm humbled even when I'm within this world, like on set every day, pinching myself. And yeah, you're right. I was in a better place. My mind was kind of pruned to not attach myself to successes too tightly. But and then therefore not downfalls. I don't attach to those too tightly.
Yes.
I mean, on a good day, I don't.
That's a really important point. Yeah, not attach because that often gets overlooked. Kind of, we're often told, don't identify with your successes, don't make that all about you. But also, yeah, if you fuck up or there's
Be a
there's
failure.
yeah, you're not yeah, completely.
Yeah, and also take criticism with the same hand that you take compliments. I
Mhm.
think that's really helpful as well,
Yeah.
because I got a lot of praise during that, and if I took that too seriously too, I would have had some kind of entitlement
Mm.
and expectation that you can't have in this industry. You cannot, no matter how good you feel or good people are telling you you're doing, you have to expect that you might not get a job for 5 years. And that's exactly what happened to me. I mean, not quite that
Mm.
intense, but I mean, not a job like that. But I'm okay with that because I
Mhm.
know it will come back around. I just know I have enough faith
Mhm.
and like love for it. So I know I won't burn out. As long as I don't burn out, something will happen. And that something might be something that I need to generate.
Mhm.
I might need to write some shit, which, I'm starting to do a little bit more, have faith in that area, not just waiting around for a job. But yeah, if I started getting entitled for work being handed to me just because my last thing was a success, that would, I
Mm.
mean, fucking kill me now.
Yeah.
I would just
I
be unhappy.
I think it's an extra challenge for American actors or actors in the American industry actually that I see because it's primarily the vast majority of the work is screen work. It's bigger projects, more money, all this stuff. It means
Mhm.
that even if you're a pretty successful actor, it can be a long time, as you say, between jobs.
Yes.
And staying sane between the jobs is really difficult. And even in the UK, it's a slightly different ball game because even someone like me who up to this point hasn't had huge success, but I've always worked. I've worked because there's fringe theater stuff. There's I always get a few theater jobs a year, and sometimes that can take me on tour.
Interesting to me
Yeah, and
to
can
be.
kind of take me on tour for 3 to 4 months or something. So I, it's why one of the reasons I was so pleased to see you kind of doing theater again because when I came to New
Yeah.
York and hung out with you and Mikey and people, it was so lovely to see you guys doing play readings and just that
Oh yeah.
there was this sense of theatrical community that I hadn't experienced for a while. And
Yes.
you know,
Yes. An agency,
yeah, and we
collective agency.
we kind of have over the last few months texted briefly, but I've not been in a lot of contact with you, but I've been seeing your Instagram posts and seeing the
Mhm.
work you're doing with Krymov, and it's like, oh yeah, Shelby's good. Like this is good for Shelby, which is nice.
Yeah. No, I mean it's like it's kind of what I want to be doing.
Mm.
Like if you offered me that or 5 guest star spots. Like I'd pick the show, like I picked the theater
Mm.
because yeah, the other stuff brings me more money and more eyes, but I mean, who the fuck cares? Like doing European style work that's very like grotesque and beautiful and clown like. I mean, to me, that is going to teach me something about myself and bring me into the work that I need to be doing afterwards and beyond, because it speaks for itself. You know,
Yeah.
like me gaining attention from being on a TV show, like what good does that do for my soul and my
Yeah.
art making? I'm not sure. It's fun and I'm not knocking it. I want those roles. I want those TV gigs. It's
Mm.
fucking fun. And I do need eyes in order to kind of like build something and make money. Like I'm not trying to be binary about this. It's all a soup. You got to look at it
Yeah.
all.
There's a
You got
balance.
every
Yeah.
angle. Yeah, there's always a balance. Always. That's life. Like you
But
literally are always balancing.
but it shows that you're a fucking real artist, and we're lucky that we know many of them, because a lot of people can get attached to, it's just about the end goal. It's just about, well, if I'm in this big TV series, then I'm doing great, and then I do the next thing, and then I do bigger and bigger and bigger. And that can be a really dangerous trap to fall into. But when you say, well, I'd rather do the theater gig than 5 guest spots kind of thing,
Yeah,
it's because you love the work, and that's what's going to give you your career longevity.
I
You
think
know?
so. I think so. I
Mm.
think so. And not drinking and oh, learning what endorphins are, by exercising, being annoyed that everyone was correct,
I
that
know it's fucking
exercising really
aggravating, isn't it?
it's annoying, but at the same time, I sort of feel like I've discovered something that no one else.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, yeah, like going on a run a few times a week really makes me happy. Like all of these things are gonna give me longevity, and an interest in these things, and luckily for me, I've been getting opportunities to kind of hit rubber to the road and work in certain rehearsal spaces that really lift up those parts of me, the parts of me that do love the theater.
Hmm.
um because that's also kind of an art that's, I'm not going to say a dying art, but theater, and that kind of theater
Yeah,
is so scarcely done these days. And that's sad,
it is sad, and I'm seeing it even in the UK. We're kind of, which has such a rich theatre tradition, and a massive theatre scene, but it's interesting post COVID, the kind of shows theaters are having to do, um, to guarantee an audience in. They're not taking chances on any experimental theater because
yeah,
they're hurting from just, all those years of lost revenue, and it's
yeah.
really it's really sad to see. Um,
It is, but I wonder if, like, the world of AI and everything and the entertainment industry just condensing more and more into this like flattened space, um, maybe that will just sort of force theater makers to keep something alive that is
well,
threatened.
it's interesting you bring that up, because I kind of have this theory. It's not really a theory, it's just what I think might happen. It's because live performance it's the oldest entertainment form we've ever had, around the campfire, doing all that as cavemen and all that. People will
Yeah.
always want to see live performance. So I'm wondering if the acting industry will kind of go the way that the music industry's gone, in terms of, 30 years ago, it was all about album sales. You'd make most of your money from the album sales, and then you'd go on tour to promote the album. Now it's the
Hmm.
complete opposite. It's like albums are making no money, so you make all your money from touring because people want to go and
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be like, once AI is so ingrained in film and television, if it's going to be, well, yeah, we'll watch that, but we also want to see real people, and we want to go to the theater.
I
And
think so.
I think you'll get a huge, like, it's going to be a blessing and a curse, because you'll get a lot of huge actors coming to the theater who've maybe never done it before, and taking roles from people who who are very good at it.
Yeah, yeah, but I also think, okay, huge actors, great, like, but their likeness is going to be used over and over again, and all of a sudden you're just going to see the same faces or artificial faces. And I think this craving, I mean, if I'm feeling it, then there must be other people. This craving for lines on your face and for complicated emotions that like maybe actually your face doesn't show but your voice cracks, like things that AI just can't quite replicate for at
Mhm.
least probably many years, that we're gonna be hungry for,
I think so. I think
you
so.
know, realness, man. Like, I mean,
I
how
mean,
can we not
n-
want
I mean, I
that?
don't know yet because obviously I haven't heard the best AI song that's ever going to be written. But there's part of
You
me that
hear that Drake one?
I did. Yeah, it's
I
mad.
mean, it's good. I mean,
It's
Drake is
good.
kind of
It's good.
AI in and of himself. He's
Yeah,
pop anyways, but like
but I there's part of me that really hopes and thinks that what I will think, no matter how staggeringly beautiful the best AI song is, it'll be like it's not as impressive and it doesn't touch me as much because it's not human. It's not
I think
coming
it's
from a
something
human
deep
being.
that we can't even really articulate, that it's more on like a vibrational level. Like
Mm,
genuinely, I think that there's just something, there's some knowing
mm.
that, but that knows the difference between artificial and authentic. Like you might
That's
not
interesting.
even, like I
Mm.
might hear that Drake song or not Drake song
Hmm.
and be like, oh yeah, that's Drake. But I think I mean, this is kind of a bad example because, you know, Drake kind of churns out whatever. But you understand my meaning. But I think at some level my core understands that a computer was behind it.
Yeah.
Um, and that'll just get sharpened over time,
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah, we'll learn to yeah, look out for it, I guess. That's an interesting thing because
Maybe,
yeah, you're right.
maybe.
There is something evolutionarily primed with, especially with facial recognition, and you can tell even the most sophisticated like doll or whatever, animatronic, immediately that it's not human. There's something in your brain that's like
Yeah.
it's like this evolutionary fire, spark in the mind or
And
something.
like not even necessarily like, oh, that's not a human being, but like because I mean the entertainment world is going to start churning out like entire movies, like
Mm.
just without any set but based on your viewing history. But like I just think it won't be that fucking interesting, you
No.
know. I think we'll just know that like there wasn't a soul behind this,
Mm.
and it'll obviously open up deeper philosophical questions over time of what a soul is, you know,
Mhm.
and what makes a person a person. I think we've also identified ourselves with artistry in a way that maybe that'll start kind of shaking loose
Yeah.
of it's about the art, not the person. I don't know, like I think there's just, we're gonna have to start asking ourselves more and more deeper questions about the meaning of this all, and being courageous enough to ask not only the hard questions but to learn new truths, to like to rearrange our understandings of what art means. You
Mm.
know, I think we hold on to a lot of these truths, and a lot of us, me included, feel an anxiety about where we're headed
Yeah,
because
I think we
it's
all
so
do.
deeply unknown. um but again, put that anxiety in the backseat, don't let it drive, and
Yeah.
go with the times to a degree, but always be asking questions.
I think the thing that saddens me slightly, and as you say, you've got to try and stay positive and think of, it could go great and there'll be some interesting things that happen. But I think my hope with AI when it was not quite as realized as it is now was that, it was going to take away the laborious mechanical jobs and then people would be free to have fun and make art. And it's not,
Leisure,
it's
yeah.
not, it's suddenly we're going, let's make the art. Like it's fuck,
Well, the
really.
fact that AI is, they're even focused so heavily on the entertainment industry, it's
Oh,
like,
it's fucked up.
come on, like
I know.
go into politics
I
or
know.
like the global warming. I mean, there's so many more dire places where this technology should be used. The fact that I mean, it's no surprise, obviously, because the entertainment industry is the biggest money maker
Hmm.
that we
Well,
know.
people have been exploiting artists for since, the beginning of time and we're in industries run by money people and now they have machines that can mean that, oh, maybe we won't have to pay anyone. because they don't really care about the creatives. We're just money making little, monkeys on a treadmill to them, kind of thing.
I
Which is
know, I
sad.
know.
Not all of them. I'm not saying that all of them. There are some wonderful people. Please give me a job. No.
I know.
So we're gonna get into the big questions now. So I want to know, Shelby Flannery,
Oh dear God. The answer is yes.
will you marry me? No, that's not that. What do you truly want from your life? Because I asked this question because I think this is a podcast about, art and creativity. And often for creatives where it's such a passion of ours, it's hard to separate the vocational career of being an artist from life. And so I want to know, obviously that's going to include your creative pursuits and being creatively fulfilled. But what if you could envision your life in 50, 60 years time in its totality? What do you want from life?
Holy shit, man.
I know. These are questions we should all be asking though. It's mad, isn't it, that
I
we all
know.
when asked that kind of go, oh fuck. But it's like, well, this is what we're all living for, right? We just
I
never
think
no
I'm
one ever
always
asks us.
asking myself this.
Mm. But no one
Like,
else ever asks us. You know what I mean? It's like we
I
never
know.
talk about this shit.
I feel like honestly, like I used to, someone would shake my hand and be like, "Hey, how are you?" And I used to hear, "What do you want from life?" in that question, and that was part of my
Mm.
social anxiety. It was like,
Yeah, yeah.
does that make sense? I won't go on that tangent. I'll answer your question eventually, but I'm also stalling because I don't know what the fuck to say.
It's a big
Uh,
question. I do apologize.
oh my God, no, 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 it's the best question. You know, I I want to treat my life as an act of art. And this doesn't mean constantly be creating per se, which I'd love to be doing, but also understanding that like rearranging my living room is an act of creation, and cooking something simple just because my friend said they were craving it, whatever, like that's an act of creation. And therefore love, like I think all the Hallmark cards, all the platitudes are where a lot of the truth lies. We often overlook those things.
Mm.
All you need is love, whatever, whatever. um but when I'm really silent with myself, I understand that like infusing everything I do with a sense of love and creativity, a bike ride, whatever, picking the perfect album for a bike ride that matches the weather and
Mm.
my flavor of mood that day, like that to me is a real act of care for my life.
That's such an act of creation because I do that all the time. Like, what's the weather outside? I'm going for a walk. What album's the perfect album right now? And
Yeah,
it will change what your
yeah.
how your mind works on that walk. That's a really really
Like,
cool point.
yeah, like all that's to say is like I want to continue to tend my own garden, like take care of myself. And how you take care of yourself changes, but it's life or death for
Mm.
me. Like it's the difference between awake, like a life where I'm asleep and one where I'm awake. Um, and I was like joking about endorphins, but it's real, like actually allowing myself to stretch my body, push my body in a way that I didn't know I could, like showing myself that I care about this body and this
Mhm.
mind. The more I tend to my own garden, I've been literally proved this, especially since giving up drinking. Like the universe is sending me sign after sign after sign that if I tend to my garden and keep tending to it and adjusting as necessary, that life comes to me,
Mhm.
that like it will show up in the way that I'm showing up and it will meet me. It just has. Like I'm like coincidences are happening, opportunities are
Mm.
happening, because I'm in a place where I'm like saying yes to who I am.
Yeah.
And I guess with that also comes, I wish I had a better word, but like individuality, like my own vantage point, my aperture of how I see the world, how the universe is expressing itself through me, that other people just they don't experience because they're not me.
Mm.
And also listening to other people's experiences as well, because so I don't get it twisted that mine is the only way, and
Mm.
angry and frustrated when other people don't live accordingly to that. No, 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 no. Like live in harmony with all the different apertures that are around, but never forgetting my own.
Mm. Staying true to your own. And I'm putting words in your mouth here, but I feel it comes to me as like going out in faith. I hear that a lot from you. Kind of,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that sort of that trust that the universe is coming, is signs are showing up, and I've been having that sort of feeling recently as well. I'm basically trying to completely overhaul my brain in many ways because I've always been by nature quite a pessimistic person. And actually, I don't think I really, we talk about the true self. I'm not really, but it's through fear and childhood trauma and whatever.
Cynicism is a disease that
Completely.
is completely taken over
Yeah.
our world. And so I'm just going to say that there's so much to say. Keep going.
Mm. So basically, I thought to myself last year, I was having a lot of dark spells, very long dark spells. And I thought to myself, if I don't do something about this and change the way I'm talking to myself, my 30s are going to be the same as my 20s. And I've made a huge amount of progress, but I'm still a work in progress, as we all are. But so I've literally been trying to talk to myself in a different way and affirm things to myself in a different way and believe things that actually deep down I always believed anyway. But the cynic was over the top of that, getting angry that what I believed wasn't showing up in the real world. And
Mm-hmm.
it's weird when you start doing that as a so-called pessimistic person. It feels like you're acting. It feels like I'm playing pretend and I'm saying I am this and I am that. And then suddenly, because you're talking to your subconscious, it just starts to flow. And after a while, it becomes who you are. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Exactly.
I say I'm creating another person, but I'm not. It's just sort of the true me
You're
is,
speaking to that ultimate truth. Yeah.
yeah. And
But
the
cynicism has covered up and calcified
Yeah, the
on top.
innocent little kid who was, the
Yeah.
reason I'm an actor. He was playful and joyful and all those
Yeah.
things.
And dancing through life in this like light way, like it's effortless.
Mm.
But you have to put the effort in at first, like you say, changing the way you talk to yourself, or and understanding that it's a choice. Like,
Mm.
when you're a kid, it doesn't really feel like a choice. You're living from that like effortless place. But at some point, cynicism does become this thing as an adult that you need to actively work against
Mm.
or work with, maybe, in order to conquer. Like it then becomes this like project.
Yeah.
I think that's vital in order to get back to the choiceless place. But there's a
Mm.
choice within that journey that needs to be made. Um, yeah, exactly, of how, like, the essence of how you speak with yourself inside of your head. I mean, that's
Yeah.
where it all begins, isn't it?
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to that thing we were saying earlier of the thought is just a thought. So the cynical thought is not happening to me. It's just there. And you can either identify with it or you don't identify it. So the negative, fearful thoughts still come
Yeah.
up, but I'm in a better place to be able to remove myself and go, oh, there's that thought. Yeah.
And that thing that you're saying, that ultimate truth underneath that, like, you think you always believed it. Like,
Mm.
that place. So if you're not identifying with your thought or from your thought, and having your operating system be inside of each thought that you have, you can shift your operating system to that knowing place. And that knowing place is the
Mm.
universe, is the awareness that's aware of the thing.
Mm.
And that's what meditation, I mean, we don't really talk about meditation
Mm.
yet, but that was a part of, my little awakening as well. And that makes me understand this truth now. It's like, I mean, meditation just allows me to sit inside of that, of the context instead of the content.
Yeah. Really, the sort of call it. I'm trying to think of the word. It's a
Like,
place without concepts, and it takes a long time to get there. And you know, I've been doing meditation for like 10 years now. And I'm actually going on I'm trying to make a commitment to myself to go on formal retreat 4 times this year, every 3 months, trying to.
wow, you're better than me. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
I've managed it like once a year for the last few years,
How
but I'm
long? How
trying.
long are your sits?
So the last one I did was 10 days. I'm gonna try the one that I've got booked so far is 8 days. I'm gonna
The
try and
silence, right?
yeah, silent retreat, yeah. And I'm gonna see if I can do like a month-long one in the summer, but
Keep
it
me
all depends.
updated, man. I
Yeah.
respect. I don't want to do that anytime soon, but
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
the first time I did it, I was like 23 and I just wasn't ready. And it was a lot because people think going to a retreat, you're doing nothing. You're not. You have no distractions. So everything
exactly.
that's going to fuck you up if you let it is going to come to the surface.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm.
I try and have these like mini retreats. I mean, I'm talking like micro, like seconds. Like I of just allowing my mind to go and witnessing it. Like not even just when I'm sitting on a cushion or whatever, I don't actually sit on a cushion, but that's just what they say. When I'm meditating. But like before I go to bed or something, or when I'm like I love periods of waiting like in line or whatever the case may be, the train, if I'm not feeling particularly pulled for my phone, or if I decide to fight that, I just love allowing myself to really push thoughts to their end, to really follow them through and
Follow it
see
to the
what's
root.
on the other
Yeah.
side. And usually there's something really cool to discover. And that's what I meant, really, really like investigate your own thinking and sit with anxieties, because there's really always something. There's
Yeah, yeah.
doors, and you open them and you're like, oh, I shouldn't care about this at all.
Yeah, yeah. For sure. Yeah, completely.
That's a beautiful thing.
Another big question. We're getting to the big questions now. I just you may not have a connection to this word, but I was just wondering, do you have a connection to or a conception of the word God? What does the word God mean to you?
Exactly what I said.
Hmm.
That context,
Completely the same. Yeah, same as me.
whole
Mm.
content, that to me
Yeah. Mm.
is the capital letter
Yeah.
God. Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. I think any listener would understand that you and I probably don't think that there's a man in the sky
Yeah.
with a list of judgments. Um, so that goes without saying. But God to me is the universal womb
Mhm.
that we all swim inside of.
Yeah. The
So that we
source.
remind, yeah, the
Mm.
source.
Mm. It's
Everything is God expressing itself, and that's why we make stuff.
I think yeah, it's this interesting thing for me of it is sort of like pure consciousness that, as you say, that context. But having seen that, and I spoke to Mikey about this when we did the
Sorry, that's my
episode.
doorbell. I'm gonna ignore it. Continue, please. You're talking to
Yeah. Um, but I imagine having seen that pure consciousness state, that is the same for everyone. It seems, because it's not me, it's completely impersonal, and it seems like this bigger thing. It seems like a universal truth of some sort. Um,
definitely. I mean, it's the thing that maybe binds us all together. I like to maybe
yeah,
think of it glue. I mean, these are all words to touch something like untouchable, right? Like
totally. Yeah,
as soon as you try and capture it, you've lost it. It slips through your fingers, kind of
it is.
thing.
But yeah, interesting. Alan Watts again. He says it's like trying to
Buy
touch
a
your own.
parcel of water.
Yeah, yeah, that one. And he's
Yeah,
yeah, tie a parcel of water and trying to bite your own, like
by your own
eat by
teeth,
your own
right?
teeth, touch your
Yeah.
own finger with the same
I
fingertip.
love Watts because
I
he's
love him.
in metaphor, which
Yeah.
like uses language right, but like uses language as this tool and this understanding that like images can't even tell.
Hmm.
Like metaphor is something that can help the human mind understand what's beyond it a little bit more than if I just like tried to fucking explain to you what I think God is. Like
Yeah. Well,
metaphor
that's
and storytelling is it touches something inexplicable. You cannot explain the meaning of things, and that's why it's such a fun process to try
Yeah.
and use images and poetry. Poetry's been a big part of my life in the recent years because of this reason, because it can touch something that like a conversation can try, and it's still fun, but to try and like piece things together. I mean, a conversation is art too. Fuck it. Conversation is a type of poetry because it's bouncing off of separate minds. Like I think metaphor is just a beautiful way to help someone
Yeah,
understand.
you're
Like it's
right. It does touch something that we know instinctually, but we can't put into words. And
yeah, yeah.
that's, I mean, the real kick in the ass about meditation and why it takes so much practice and years later I'm still only get those glimpses occasionally is because you're trying to, the problem is your ego tries to figure it out. So the whole point is don't let the self get involved, but the self's go, right, you need to your ego's going,
Once you have it, your
yourself is
ego goes, oh, "This is it,"
this is
and then
it.
you learn.
Yeah, fuck. Totally.
Yeah, but that's kind of funny too. Like it's just
Yeah, you've got
funny.
it.
Like you gotta have humor, otherwise you're not gonna want to do it. Like
Yeah,
it's all just a big joke in the best way.
it
I
is a
mean,
play, as we say. It's
it's
all a
ridiculous.
play. It's a
We've
dance.
evolved to be ridiculous because we've evolved to survive, and in a time when we don't need to survive in the same fervency, like
Yeah.
we just look like cartoons, and our
Mm.
egos are still doing these cyber tooth dances when it doesn't need to, and we can laugh about it. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I do. I totally do. Um, I'm interested. Are you, so you're about 6 months sober now? Am I, you were saying nearly 6 months?
5 since
5.
September. Yeah.
Is this, do you think this is going to be a long-term thing? And yeah, what have you learned so far from kind of putting down the sauce? It's not that you were an alcoholic or anything like I was, but
I mean, I don't know. Even my perception of alcoholism has sort of shifted. I think there's certainly people. I mean, it's spectrum. Spectrum again, not even the right word. I think addiction is progressive,
Mm,
and we all sort of are on our way to being addicted to something. And I understood that I needed to interfere before it took over my life, because I can relate to you in the sense that I've hurt people and I've hurt myself. Relationships have suffered because of me putting pleasure first, and numbing pain a close second. I mean, they really go hand in hand. But I was I was taking life away from me, myself. I wasn't allowing myself to experience the richness of things. And so I mean, for me, it happened quite practically at first. Like we had put our play up and it was tech week, and I was just like feeling sick all the time because of the long hours. I just felt run down, and I was like, fuck, I gotta do something so I can actually like show up for
get
opening
through
night.
this. Mm,
Yeah, and like you need severe stamina to do theater like that, or theater
mm.
in general, especially with long runs. Like you just do. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna cut that out of my life and try and get a little bit better sleep because of it. And then holy shit, like it just, I mean, I like detoxed in a way. Like it was deeply uncomfortable at first. Like it wasn't just
Interesting.
like this, ooh, now my skin is glowing and I have more energy. Like I actually like quite suffered at first. And my emotions that I had bottled up were allowed to kind of
Yeah.
break free, and they really wanted to. um Things got more complicated before I felt the so-called benefits, but then damn did I feel, but it didn't even feel like benefits because I that feels felt too clinical. Even it literally felt like I was gifting myself life.
Mm,
um and then discipline started seeping in other areas of my life, because quitting something that I had convinced myself that I couldn't live without, and then deciding to live without it, which is maybe the craziest thing someone can do,
Mm.
showing that like I can do that. I mean, come on, like then I can
Pretty
do
great
anything.
feeling, right?
Then I can do fucking anything.
Yeah.
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 So powerful.
Yeah.
So I mean it took honestly a couple or few months to get to that place. Like if anyone's listening that's thinking about it, like it's not like a dry January where all of a sudden a weekend and you get this kind of detox of your impurities. Like it just doesn't work that way. It's a longer journey than that. I think if
Yeah.
you really want to allow yourself the life that you deserve. But that's what I was showing myself. I was like, I deserve this and I choose this
Yeah.
over the taste of a good Bardell, you know, like
Mhm.
I choose this over that.
Yeah. I
Um,
I think that's I can totally relate to that. It was I always say that getting sober was the first real act of self-care I ever showed myself.
yeah.
It's like I'm worth something and this is gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna ruin my life with this. And I already
And then it's
was.
just turtles all the way down from there. Like
Mhm.
you just like act from that place. I fucking run. That's insane. If I heard that only like a very short time ago, I'd be like, no, I that you're kidding me. Like, was there a gun involved? You know what I'm saying? I but I do that now and I look forward to it. Like I'm just one of those fucking monsters who looks forward to running and doesn't even doesn't even think about drinking. You
Mm.
know, that also took me a while to get there.
Yeah.
I worked in a bar for Christ's sake. Like
Yeah, that's gotta be hard.
and they have great cocktail. I love the taste, you know. But again, I just don't choose that over. What is it? Someone said something to me once. It was like quitting alcohol or drinking or being addicted to something is choosing one thing over everything
Yeah.
versus choosing everything to let go one thing.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that
And
just
this
became
is
a
the
bunch.
problem. It traps you. That's the thing. And that's why it feels like you can't live without it. And that it stopped me from trying to get sober for so long because I just thought I can't live without this. And then when you finally do break the shackles, it's like, oh, fuck. It feels like
I'm not dead
I'm
from
not,
giving.
and I'm not dead, and I don't have this weight holding me down anymore. I also think what you said about, I mean, it's of everyone I think who gets sober goes through this, that rushing of all the emotions that you've been trying to bottle up with it for so long. And I credit you and anyone who gets sober for doing that because it's sort of like those emotions and those difficulties don't go anywhere when you drink. You just numb them and you try, and it's like this, you're trying to push it down in this bottle top that's trying to explode. And either you do something about it, as we have, and you kind of break that sometimes generational curse, that generational cycle, or you do just
Yeah.
keep numbing it and you pass it on to your kids or
Yes.
any relationship you have. And so
Yes.
it's a beautiful thing you've done, and well done.
It's a gift to yourself and everyone around you.
Everyone that's going to come into contact with you. Yeah,
And actually, also, I've shown myself that I really don't need alcohol to be fun. That was a
yeah.
stupid fucking idiotic story that I was telling myself that I needed alcohol to like party, to like be the life of a party, to hold a conversation and be quirky and weird and the kind of person that I enjoy being and say things that maybe are a little dangerous and push boundaries. Oh no.
Yeah.
I can do that so much better now that I don't drink. I have a
Mm.
kind of energy that I trust now because I'm not like, oh God, I said that because I was drinking and blah blah. Like no. Like I have my weirdness can shine now in good
Yeah.
faith.
And actually, it's so
Fun.
interesting. I find being in social settings with people that are drinking, and this, by the way, this is not, I am not an anti-alcohol person. I'm an alcoholic. It's
Oh,
my
yeah.
problem. It's, it's not alcohol's fault.
I don't
But
know. I actually kind of I think alcohol is kind of a piece of shit, to be honest. I
fair
think
enough.
I think we often blame the person over the booze, and we're drinking ethanol for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it's not, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm saying it was my issue to deal with, I guess is what I'm saying. And some
yeah,
people
it's a
can deal with
responsibility.
alcohol. Yeah, and some people can deal with alcohol wonderfully. So I don't want anyone to think I'm going anyone who drinks is ridiculous. But it is funny
They're all
when
fools.
but when you get sober and you're around people that you used to party with and stuff when you were drinking as well, it's like I used to think all these people were really interesting, and actually they are interesting people. But when they're drunk, they're making absolutely
No,
no
there's
fucking sense. And they've repeated the same thing to you for the
yeah.
last hours. Like it's the fifth time you've told me that in 45 minutes. Thanks.
Oh my God, that exact thing. That
Yeah,
exact, so fucking
man.
right. I know, I know. I mean, I completely agree. I was like, this veil is lifted,
Yeah,
and I'm fine going out and not drinking and kind of giggling inside at people getting progressively drunk throughout the night. It's kind of a
yeah,
trip to witness.
yeah.
But yeah, there are definitely things where I was like, oh wow, like I used to be one of these among these people, and I thought we were being really fucking intelligent or whatever.
Mm,
I I thought this was good for me on some level. Like I can see all the lies that I spun that like told me I I needed something outside of myself in order to be interesting.
yeah,
But yeah, you step on the other side of it and you're witnessing it and you're like, yeah, I know these people think that they're spinning some hard truths right now,
yeah.
but
But
it,
this
it sounds
talk
fucking
is yeah.
redundant. Like
It's like anyone on cocaine. Cocaine makes you think you are the
yeah,
smartest person in the room, and
I
you are
gave up cocaine.
chatting shit. I can tell.
Oh my God, for real. I know it says that this pseudo confidence that now for me is not fake anymore. I just
Mm.
have like a real confidence to me that I honestly had never had. Like
It's
never,
beautiful, man.
ever.
I'm so pleased for you. And it was great when I heard you were getting sober because as you say, I know you didn't have issues like I did with alcohol. So it was kind of a surprise when you told me,
Mhm.
but I was like, I know that's gonna serve you well for many, many
Yeah,
years. Yeah.
thanks. It was
Yeah.
more insidious than like, I, shitting the bed or whatever. Not saying that's what you did, but like
Never shit the
metaphorically
bed.
and literally.
Once pissed the bed, I'm afraid to say.
Same. Oh, it's happened to me. It's happened to me for sure. Like I kind of just told myself I didn't I want to wait for rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like I had my own versions of bottom. I mean, there's things you don't know,
Yeah.
I especially when I'm in a rut of like drinking and cocaine because I'm hanging out with certain types of people. Not even that they're a type, but like just the things that they do and being around it. Like, I mean, I got to places that emergency therapy sessions were needed in order to stop myself from doing something stupid. Like
Yeah.
relationships that became a little fractured when they really could have been avoided. Um, just things that I did that I wouldn't have done sober. Um, it all accumulated to a breaking point.
Hmm.
Um, and
That's
I
the
kept
thing.
a lot,
Rock bottom's relative, isn't it? It's all relative for different
of
people.
course. And we like
Yeah.
to think of rock bottom as this kind of clean, easy thing, not hitting rock bottom being easy, but just like putting it in a category like
Mhm.
that as something that, well, I haven't hit bottom or I haven't hit that bottom. You look at
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
else's bottom, and you're like, well, I'm not there,
I'm
so
not
I'm
that
gonna
bad.
keep
So
doing
many people do
7
that.
nights a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? I tried to catch the robber early.
Yeah. No, you did well, you've done a massive service to yourself, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, we're now going to get on to the recurring questions that I ask every guest, Shelby Flannery.
Lucky me.
Yeah. So, what is your art of the week? A piece of art that you've enjoyed, has inspired you, or moved you
Yeah.
in the last week?
Lucky for this conversation. I mean, I was just steeped in art recently. I took a trip to DC.
Hmm.
Um, a little new lover of mine that I've accumulated.
The lover boy.
Well, yeah, I was having some fun, and we went to DC to see my friend's Tiny Desk show. But we decided to make a weekend of it. And first of all, this city is so immaculately planned. Like I just find the city itself inspiring artistically. I
Hmm.
mean, even just like the way that they use warm lighting instead of cool lighting, like you see a lot in New York and otherwise. There's a warmth to city, in my opinion, and the layout of it, like the way the sun hits certain things, like
Mm.
how you can take so much in at once. And I'm talking like architecturally, but then you step into the museums, which are all free, by the way, which I find beautiful and
Yeah.
necessary. And why
Take
the
note, New
hell?
York.
Seriously, Jesus. And it just changed every, like, just being able to walk in and walk out and go to the next and walk in, walk out. Like, I mean, it actually, I think, allows for a different relationship with the work, like as a viewer, because you're not like, it doesn't feel like you need to consume it all in quickly, and as like desperately. Um, but you can, there's just from the sake that it's free, you can let go
Mm.
um a little bit more. At least for me, I could. And Simone Leigh was someone whose exhibition just really fucked me up. Like, I mean, it was just like, she's a sculpturist. It's a lot to do with the movement. And I mean, like, just like the soul movement of the Black female experience.
Mm.
Um her, a lot of sculpture. And it was just something that I felt lucky and deep and in awe enough to just witness, to just
Mm.
stand around, like one of like that kind of work that changes your heart rate and like charges your cells, you know. Like, I
Mm.
felt different,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
unworthy, that kind of thing, like small but like in the most massive way somehow,
Mm.
being just around her work. If you just Google her name, you'll see what I mean. I mean, and you'll recognize some of her work, like a lot of
Yeah.
like African inspired sculptures that just took my breath away. So there's that.
And what museum was that at? Just so people can.
That was at the Hirshhorn. Uh,
Cool.
um, yeah, it was at the Hirshhorn.
Cool.
Yeah, I just fell into like a deep hole over her stuff,
That's
and
awesome. Great.
yeah, with our like menial attention spans, it's just one of the, I find like so much joy when my body is taken over like that,
Mm.
because of Instagram, which is another addiction of mine, for sure. Like, I think
No, who knew, Shelby?
I just love it. But
I mean,
I
to
hate
be fair,
it too.
I've never seen someone whose Instagram account is so artistic. Like it
Oh
is
yeah,
like photography, like proper photography. It's like little
yeah.
snapshots and stories.
I use it as a form of expression. God, it sounds so like hokey, but like I try and express myself through it because I find it fun and
Mm.
enjoyable.
Yeah,
And every girl needs a little attention.
absolutely.
But still, it's fucked with my attention span. I haven't allowed it to completely take over my life, and I will never. But like, I have noticed that interactions have changed a little bit for me, and I've noticed it in other people too. Because I've noticed it, I don't let it really take over. But I think we look at people and kind of have this expectation for them to entertain us as in the same way
Mm.
and give us that dopamine hit. And
Yeah.
we look at people and we're like, why aren't you a cat spinning around
Well,
like
that's
in
the thing.
chasing
They've
tail?
they've brilliantly hooked our dopamine systems and our reward centers of our brain. I mean, they've done it deliberately, and it's tough. It does kind of
Yeah,
numb your dopamine receptors.
it does, and it makes you like need it like all the
Mm,
time.
yeah.
Um, just wait, like everyday life. But
Mm,
anyways, when I'm in a museum and I'm able to like drop that and feel something new, I get pretty excited. And
amazing.
also my friend my friend's Tiny Desk concert, like, I mean, that was
Yeah.
some work that I'd love to highlight, give her a shout out. Like, it wasn't her solo stuff. Her name is Julia Zivic. It was, which she's absolutely worth checking out. But it was with this producer and bassist who's quite cool. He goes by Cartoons with two R's.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I would say that was absolutely a highlight of the week. I mean, first of all, just being
amazing.
so proud of my friend. I mean, Tiny Desk is such a huge accomplishment.
I love a tiny desk as well. It's such a cool thing.
Dude, being in that space was so cool. Like, being
Yeah.
able to to like just be in the space where all these legends have walked through.
Mm. My
Um,
favorite I think I've ever seen was Anderson Paak's one, where he was just
oh, wow.
watching. just watching his insanity of how good a drummer he is and how he can sing along with it. Like, yeah.
So
Anyway,
talented.
big Anderson .Paak fan. Um, my art of the week is Belfast, the film that Kenneth Branagh directed,
Great
which
one.
I'd been meaning to see for ages. And it's on Netflix, so I watched it this week, and it's just a beautiful film. It's a family drama essentially based around the troubles in Northern Ireland.
Taking notes in mind.
Incredible act. I mean, Kieran Hines in that. I love him in everything, and I've also met him, and he's a stunningly lovely man, which makes it all the more wonderful when someone so talented is great.
I know,
Is a
right?
great human being as well. Um,
Delicious. And just like, thank God.
yeah,
But I mean, I don't think you can be that talented if you're not a good. Anyways, that's a whole other conversation. But
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think like you got to have a good soul to.
Mm. There's got to
That's
be
at
something underneath there. Um,
least the art I like.
yeah. Um, Also Judi Dench is in it. The little kid, the little boy who's the protagonist was fantastic. The lead female act whose name I can never remember, but she's the main woman in Outlander. She was brilliant in that film. It was just beautiful, set to the backdrop of Van Morrison's music and the era of Van Morrison's music that I
That's so
love, which is like I love Van Morrison's early stuff, but the stuff I really love is the stuff that was in this film, which was like, oh, Van Morrison with a saxophone and occasionally a clarinette, that
movie was
kind of
made for
like
you.
I'm stranded, all that sort of stuff. Like
No, do you
stuff
ever
she
watch a movie or so like read a book or a poem and you're like, I wrote this.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, this is me. Yeah.
this is me.
So it was beautiful. A really good job by Kenneth Branagh, I think. And I've not seen many of the films he's directed, but I thought it was fantastic.
I'll check it
Um,
out,
yeah.
man.
So, Shelby, your artist spotlight of the week, an artist that you think everyone listening to this podcast should know about.
I mean, I can only say what I like, right? All of you
Mhm.
listening may or may not agree with what I have to say, but you probably will because she's so entirely unique in what she's doing. She's a singer, black folk singer. I mean, but even the word folk, she breaks open and
Mm.
turns into a kaleidoscope. Uh, Cara Jackson.
Fucking love Cara
Oh,
Jackson.
you know her. That's so fucking
Yes.
great. Yeah, she's starting to gain some
Mm.
traction, some well-deserved traction, but isn't she I mean,
I mean, American folk is sort of my specialty. The amount of weird
of
random
course
roads
you
I
know her.
find on
Yeah.
Spotify and stuff. So yeah, man,
Yeah,
that's a
she
great shout as artist spotlight. Yeah, I can concur.
thinks. I
Fantastic
mean,
musician.
right? Like her lyrics, her lyricism. I mean, she's a true poet.
Hmm.
She's a true fucking poet. Chicagoan, which I love me some Midwesterners. A lot of great talent comes from Chicago, and Minneapolis. But she just has this like deep, unexpected voice. The passion and the loss. Like again, like when I was talking about how life and love is loss.
Mm.
Like love songs aren't necessarily about falling in love, but about the grief as well. And she brings theatrics into it and an incredibly ferocious range. So
Yeah,
yeah, please check her out. She's sick.
that's a great shout. Before I go on to my artist spotlight, are you from Minneapolis or St. Paul?
I'm from Minneapolis.
I'm gonna have to re-record my intro to you then, because online it says St. Paul, and I've been.
It
She's
does say
from.
St. Paul
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can
No.
never trust IMDb or Wikipedia. There we are.
Yeah, people, yeah,
I'll
it's hilarious.
re-record that then. My artist spotlight of the week, weirdly, is also a black folk singer. I'm gonna get the pronunciation of his stage name wrong, but I think
I've
it's
said
Mo
everything wrong
yeah,
on this podcast.
Mon Rovia, I think, and Mon Rovia, Mon Rovia.
Can you spell that for me really quick,
Yeah.
please?
So the first word is MON, as in my, in French, and then Rovia, Rovia.
Ooh,
And this guy escaped. He's such an amazing story. He escaped civil war in Liberia and is now living in Tennessee, and just makes this beautiful, ethereal folk music. There's a great song of his called "City on a Hill," Beautiful lyrics under this sort of high range.
I
Uh,
cannot wait to listen, and I love how fucking complimentary our choices were.
yeah, yeah. There's such beautiful there's Can You Be Still? There's a void only silence can fill over this beautiful guitar backing and this high range. He's just great, and he's starting to build a following, I think. Just really starting to get off the ground, and I don't know a huge amount about him, but I think he's really worked from the ground up and tried to, gain a following the right way, one click at a time kind of thing.
It's
So
really fun to like to see to witness artists in that period of time, because
yeah,
like for me, I feel as though they're my own friends, and I get so much pride off watching um people grow,
yeah,
just like people get better simply at what they do, and being able
yeah,
to see that, like, it's, I don't know, there's like nothing more exciting to me. And like
yeah,
I think like the flip side of that would be to feel threatened, or like that someone else's successes means that like I'm less so because of it, like less so, like less, just less.
yeah.
um and that is a really, oof, that's a dangerous road
It's a really dangerous pill.
to
Yeah,
go down. I can't remember who, David White is another
yeah.
great,
The
he's a poet.
poet. So
I read, no,
interestingly, I he's a maybe to come on the podcast.
shut the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah,
up.
yeah. Consolate
Oh,
Consolations by his book Consolations was one
yes,
of
his
my
work of prose.
yeah, one of my previous art of the weeks, and I wrote to him. He was the first person I wrote to this year, and he made me sign this like podcaster form that they keep on record. And he's like, when it's out, I'll listen to it, and when the website's refurbished, let me know. So, David, if you're listening, you've got an audience on this
Let
podcast, and
this
we
be your
love your
sign,
work.
David.
Yeah,
Mhm, mhm. No, I
he's
mean,
phenomenal. I
I
love
was
his
only
work.
bringing him up because in
Yeah.
the context of what we were saying was like he said this one thing once, like I can't remember if it was within a poem or just talking about it. Like he talks about his poetry so well,
Mm,
he reads his own poetry so well, but he says something like, you know, I'm gonna add my own thing onto it, my own structure, but like the idea is like there's two ways to be an artist, and one is um, to see other artists as competition or potential collaborators. And
mm.
I have just sat in that feeling of excitement, that like pure joy, not only when my friends succeed, but shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up out there. I live in New York. Jesus. Try to
Damn
do
you,
something in
Brooklyn.
this living room. I dare you.
Oh
It's so
God,
fucking annoying.
jeez, I'll bet.
But David White, man, like David fucking White, he might be my favorite poet these days.
Consolations by David. I would give anyone out there buy that book and read it. It's
I've given that
beautiful.
as a gift so
Me
many
too.
times.
I gave that as a gift to Jana for Christmas. I sent it across the pond. Yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
yeah,
I gave it to my mom. You know it's real when
mm,
you do
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's and it changed. I will stop because otherwise I'll talk about that
Yeah.
book for the rest of the thing. What does it mean to you to be an artist? Slash, what makes a great artist? Do you think,
Oh,
Shelby?
I mean, we've said it in so many words,
We
right?
have, yeah.
1.5 or 2 hours. Like, I mean, just doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just doing it, I mean, is great, because most don't.
Mm,
Um, but someone who tends to the garden of their own imagination, um, but also someone who has their feet in the ground as well as their head in the clouds.
hmm
And in between that space is a really good place to inhabit, I think, because you need to soar and get weird in order to, well, have ideas. Most of the time I'm just dry, but once in a while, like if you just let yourself swim there, like ideas will happen. And then you also have to, this place that I'm talking about, this middle ground is where the tools are sharpened in
mm,
order to convey what your clouds are trying to say. So I think, it's a very practical answer, right? But as I get older, I get more practical in my understanding of art making, and it really is about the discipline of like medium, like finding mediums and just doing it, just fucking
mm.
churning it out. um and not sitting on your ass, because you
Yeah.
can be, I don't really necessarily, I believe in talent, but I believe it'll take you not far at all unless you're
Yeah.
doing it.
Mm.
Do exactly what I say.
It also, what you said before about that you could either see other artists as competition or collaborators as well made me think that, I mean, no, I can't imagine any artist makes work thinking, I want people to be really fucking jealous of this work. I want them to see this and feel seething inside. They want to inspire, and they want you to think, if you are creative, they want to think, oh, fuck, that was great. I'd love to be able to make work like that, you know?
Definitely, definitely. And also add my own thing onto it. Like I think we're so afraid of like, we're so obsessed with the idea of creating something entirely individual and unique and for the first time ever. But I think that's a fallacy as well. Like I think you have to absorb great art and be inspired by it, and then make something new from it and with it
Mm.
and alongside it. Like that's cool. Like that's just
Yeah.
a cool fucking thing to do.
Yeah.
You do have to sharpen your taste in order to do that too, and like go through those rabbit holes of like the inspiration that your art, like the artists that you're interested in, like what they followed. Like you're not going to just like create genius on the
No.
spot
No.
without a huge level of absorption first.
Mm.
There was something else I wanted to say and I can't
Mm.
remember. Oh yeah, so like, because what you said, about wanting to inspire, I think, at least from like the things that I've gathered and from artists that from listening to artists that I love, like hearing their process, hearing them talk about their process, like it's become clear to me that thinking about your audience too soon is detrimental. Um,
Yes.
and because it dilutes your imagination to the opinion of your audience. Um, and it's the wrong thing to invest in, at least in the sense of the timing of it. um, I think later down the line, you can kind of start thinking about the impact this might have on people, but you can't do it too soon. Otherwise, your
Mm.
taste can't really like have room to wiggle, and you can't embrace failure that much in
Well,
that way.
also, I think some of my favorite artists and my favorite of all time was, it's not that they didn't care about the audience, but it was never to please the audience. It was this is what I'm doing, this is what I dig right now. And if you dig it too and you want to come along for the ride, you're more than welcome. But
Yeah.
I think once you start, as you say, thinking about your audience too soon and trying to fulfill something within other people, you're kind of doomed to failure because it's never going to be authentic.
Yeah, and also like getting stuck and I mean, I think you should care about your own opinion, and there are people's opinions that you should care about,
Mm.
and you can like entertain that, sure. Like I think that's part of being a great artist, is choosing whose opinion you give a fuck about. um um but also like yourself, like your own opinion, like you should hold that to a regard, but there's also many opinions in your head at one given time, at any given time, and it's a complicated water to wade through sometimes, like thing to decipher, like which thoughts you should follow, which ideas you should follow. And it's kind of bringing it even back to the practical again. It's like making art is honing in on one idea and allowing yourself to kind of grieve the losses of all the other pathways that it could have gone. But
Yes.
if you get stuck and being like, it could be this, it could be that, it could be that, it could be this and that, you'll be paralyzed. But you got to get cool and down with that loss,
Mm.
in order to get anything fucking made.
Yeah.
Being like, this is the pathway that I've chosen. Oh, there's that idea again that it could kind of deter. Like you gotta dance that balancing act.
Yeah, for sure. Um, do you have an artistic role model or a few artistic role models that have been pivotal in your journey and your kind of
course.
fruition as an artist.
Of course, and it changed. I mean, I've had so many, the list is long, like, and there's kind of like always a new one for the time in my life. Um, but going back to like one of those moments that when a performance really like uh, rustled something awake in me, it was, I mean, Gina Rollins. Like
Mhm.
when I saw Women Under the Influence for the first time, I like can say with certainty that my relationship to acting changed.
Mm.
Like I was so worried about her throughout the movie. Like I just knew she was experiencing every word that was coming out of her mouth and like every harrowing look. Like I mean the looks that she shot in that movie, like her eyes. Like, I see her eyes,
Mm.
those fucking eyes. Like every time I kind of want to investigate a character, like I don't know, I just kind of like I don't know her process, but I don't even really care because I've seen the product of it and I understand something just because I've seen it.
Mm.
Um, you know, when you kind of see certain artists and you're like, it just like speaks to like your flavor,
Yeah.
your like the way that you want to work and the way that you want to hold yourself.
Mm.
But more contemporary role model is Michaela Cole.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been looking up to her for a long time now. I just think, I mean, she's just a true artist. Like watching her work, I May Destroy You specifically, but also hearing
mm.
her speak about her
Yeah.
work, like, is a masterclass in moving through the world like an artist, like with humor and humility, um, and grace. I think she is like some kind of god. I also think it's problematic to see artists as god, like,
Yeah.
but
It's
sometimes,
interesting because I didn't know about how prolific a sort of writer she was
right?
until sort of fairly late on, until I May Destroy You. But I knew her already because she'd been in like loads of TV series, a tiny little sort of what's the word? I can't think of the word, but a scene in this show, and she always stole the show and was hilariously funny and brilliant in everything I saw her in. So I didn't know her name, but I was like, she's in that again. She's great. And then
Yeah.
that came out. Of course, she's a genius. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so glad that people are recognizing it. I didn't
Yeah.
know what I didn't like see her like early incline, but I feel like still I was just like experiencing someone's raw, immense talent. Like I
Mm.
was catching on with the rest of the world, and I was so happy to be invited to that train. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Good
so
shout. Very good
yeah.
shout. One thing you are grateful for this week, Shelby. I don't put these in the questions
Adorable.
because I like them to be spontaneous.
That's an adorable question.
I am adorable
You are
occasionally. Thank you.
you are grateful for that. Wow. I'm there's so many, like there's so many things running through my head right now because I actually am just like in a state of gratitude lately. Like I'm just so
Great.
alive. But I will try and get specific for you and just kind of latch on to one. I'm really grateful for this new kind of desire to see the world that's come up in me. Um, Funny enough, my niece has really allowed me that as well. Like hanging out with the 2.5 year old, being a kid and being and sort of seeing the world through her eyes. I just can't really help it. I just kind of become a kid when I'm around her. And just the people that have been around lately and let into my life, started trusting. It's all of these things have really allowed me to feel a sense of like readiness to travel the world and to
Mm,
like experience life. Like fear has always kind of stopped me from that, and I'm really really grateful for that and the people that have allowed me to feel safe doing that. Like I don't
mm.
feel as alone. So yeah, the people in my life, I'm like stupid grateful for it. It actually makes me kind of sick.
Beautiful. I love that. And I would say, like, traveling has been a huge part of my healing journey. And it's not for everyone, but for me, traveling alone has been one of the greatest things I've ever done because you find the most amazing people. I have people in my life that I only knew for a week maybe, but I still keep in contact with. And you naturally gravitate to people in a way that you wouldn't if you were just going on holiday with a mate kind of thing. But
Totally. And back to
mm,
like tending your garden, I found that like the more I do that, the like more like right people cross my path.
yeah,
Like
for
the people
sure.
that actually fuck with like the real me.
Mm,
Like I've been mistrusting myself for so long because I've sort of cultivated this thing. I've bought the lie that I need to be likable. So I've like cultivated a likable version of myself. And then because I didn't trust that, I didn't trust anyone who liked me. Do you know
mm.
what I mean?
Yeah,
And once it
God,
broke
yeah.
that
Fuck,
down.
that hit deep. Shit, shit, Shelby.
I know, man. I wrote this little quip, this little line. I was like, you don't trust anyone that's attracted to you because you don't trust who they're attracted to. Like at one point I just felt that. I was like, I don't trust like who I've made. And so I dropped all that. Took time, but I dropped all that and started cultivating authenticity. And so the people that come into my life and say, hey, you're interesting or you're funny or you're weird and I like it, I trust them more and I let them in. And then
Mm,
my life is one of trust, and that's cool.
it's beautiful. I'm so glad to hear that. Um, if there was one thing you could change about the industry that you're in, what would it be?
I guess the industry that I'm in is the acting industry.
Yeah.
And there's a laundry list, but I mean, I think we're kind of going to hell fast, but I think, but if I could change anything, I think it's going to be a little bit more of like an obtuse answer because it's a hard one to answer. But like, if I could change anything, is that everything would slow down a little bit,
Mm,
and revel in the advancements that we've accomplished this far with cinema and television for that matter. Yeah. I mean, television has reached a golden age, like
yeah.
not too recently. I mean, to just be
Yeah.
in and to create beautiful things with what we have, which is everything. I mean, we have talked about AI, but it does have the potential to strip all the love from art, and I mean, it certainly will from entertainment.
Mm,
All the benefits, all the art that benefits from speed. Because it's all about appealing to the masses and making money, like we said. But like,
yeah.
I pray that the human aliveness that true art needs will never be threatened. Um,
I don't think it'll be threatened. I have faith. I think
and
there'll be enough people that want the real thing.
I think so. But those are the people that understand that we need to slow down and
Mm,
not invest in the new space race of automatizing everything, including all of art. Um, so yeah, to slow down, and to look around.
mm. That's a great answer. That's really great. I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Um, so another little surprise question, but what
Bastard.
make yeah, I know. What makes you happy, Shelby Flannery? I like to this is something I've tried I've been trying to do recently of just like what actually makes me happy and just kind of write it down, and it's often the things you don't expect. So what makes you happy, Shelby?
Mm. My niece.
Mm.
Um,
She's cute as hell.
she really is. She really is. But wait till you talk to her. I mean, her mind, she's so fucking funny and so smart. She's a little mystic. So that's just
Mm.
like really fun to be around. She's special. And I'm not just biased. Being her aunt. What else? What else makes me happy? Conversations like this make me really happy. Like I walk away energized. Um, Food of late has been making me really happy. Allowing myself to really enjoy food, and not obsess over it so much.
Yeah, I still struggle with that.
Yeah, we all do. We all have our version of disordered eating, but it's
Mm.
so it's nice to find happiness in food lately. Um, Running around Prospect Park makes me so happy. And making music. I've been making a lot of music these days. I've been writing. I've been writing, and
Fabulous.
makes me incredibly happy because it was something that I've written for a few years now. I've written music, and but but scarcely, because I've told myself that like it's a fluke every time it happens,
Mm.
like an accident instead of something that I really can do and cultivate. And I've just been like saying fuck that and making shit with my guitar and my lyrics.
Well,
And
that's songwriting though. They are flukes, and but you've got to keep writing so the flukes will come.
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
you get these occasional little gifts from whatever creative gods there are, and
Yeah,
you've got to
yeah.
wait
I
for
just
them.
gotta keep fucking around, and little nuggets of gold
Mm,
will show themselves.
sure, that's
But yeah,
wonderful.
it makes me really happy.
I'm glad, and I'm glad you're in a good place. I'm glad you're happy.
Thank
Um,
you so much.
Finally, Shelby, is there any work that you've done that you want to highlight, or anything that's coming up that you want to promote, or you know, free reign to do that if you want
Mm,
to?
yeah, I mean, my Instagram. No.
Well, we can put the handle in the episode notes.
The point of even saying that though is really because that is where like any of my new work would show up.
Mhm.
I've got a short film coming out. It's been in the canon for like multiple years, and it's something that I had a quite a large hand in making, not just acting in. Um, it was about, funny enough, it's about someone at her version of a rock bottom from alcoholism. And
Wow,
I was still drinking at the time, and it's coming out in a time when I'm sober, and that's one of those one of
that's
those
really cool.
alignments. Yeah. But if you follow me, then you'll know when that comes out. It's called April, so that'll be coming out soon. There's another short film that I did, also coming out soon, also from a couple years ago. These things take so long sometimes to
Mhm.
see the light of day. I'm gonna be in another show with Krymov. We're gonna start a workshop process in March, and that's gonna be fucking sick. So if you're in the New York area, anyone listening, um, within this coming year, keep your eyes on my page so you can see when we finally bring an audience to see it, because yeah, I can't say any of what it's
Yeah,
about, but essentially I'm this like grotesque, beautiful, weird, ethereal MC of this funeral. So
sounds like your ideal casting.
it does.
It's
It
all
does.
those things coming together.
That's the cool thing about working with a theater company and like being locked in there, is because Demon, like, he meets who I am
Mm,
and will create something from that,
yeah.
versus like there's a script in place, and I have to mold myself to it, which is a fun challenge. And I'm an actor, so I have to like that as well. But this is like a whole different way to work.
Whole different process.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's going to be no script. We're going to make it all up throughout the year. So, and
Amazing.
that's fucking terrifying, but I love it.
Mhm. Well, Shelby, thank you so much for doing this. I love you.
Honor.
Thank you for your vulnerability, your yeah, your openness. And I'm gonna be back in
Always.
New York in the summer, and I can't wait to see you then.
Oh, let's party, baby.
Let's
Sober.
party, baby. Summer party. Shelby, love you. See you
I
soon.
love you so much. This was wonderful. I want to give you a big hug.